This week's Torah portion, Chukat, is rich with sermon material. I could talk about the mysterious red heifer ritual of purification. I could talk about the loss of the prophet Miriam, a great leader of the Israelites, the one who helped rouse the spirits of the people and also found water for them in the midst of the desert. I could talk about the story in which Moses gets so upset with the impertinence of the Israelites that he strikes a rock with his staff and is henceforth forbidden to enter the promised land. Instead, the events of the past weeks cry out for a rabbinic response. The problem is, I don't want to deliver another Black Lives Matter sermon. Of course, Black Lives Matter. I've been delivering that sermon since the night I first talked about Trayvon Martin from the Bema while wearing a hoodie. In the last couple weeks, we lost Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge and Philandro Castile in St. Paul, raising questions about whether they would still be alive today if they were white. And I don't want to deliver another American Massacre sermon. But how can I ignore the fact that 5 policemen made the ultimate sacrifice last week in Dallas when a deranged individual engaged in sniper attacks with an assault weapon, while police were ironically working together with protesters against police brutality. The most powerful statement I saw on the subject was Dallas Police Chief David Brown, who told protesters that if they have a problem with the system, they should step out of the protest line and step up to serve the people by changing the system from within. His leadership in developing closer relations between police and the communities they serve is an inspiration, and his statements brought honor to the policemen lost in the worst attack against police since 9/11. I was gathering material for a sermon on race relations in America. I was prepared to caution against the sweeping generalizations we've seen all over the media, casting aspersions against all the protesters or against all the police for the actions of individuals beyond the pale of the vast majority of the good people on both sides. Before I even had the words written for the sermon I might have delivered, we all learned about the Bastille Day massacre in Nice, where another individual took the lives of over 80 civilians, including 10 children and several Americans as well. For all the talk about how harsh we're going to be against ISIS and Al-Qaeda, there's hardly anything that we can do to prevent rogue sympathizers from turning dreams into nightmares. We also learned this afternoon that in Turkey, a country still reeling from an airport bombing that took the lives of 36 people less than a month ago, there has been an attempted coup which could further destabilize the country and jeopardize the lives of the good people who live there. It would be unprofessional for a rabbi not to sermonize on any of these severe tragedies that weigh so heavily upon each and every one of us. But where do I even begin? It's too much. It's overwhelming. We are a grieving nation, overcome by one devastating blow after another. I wish I could tell you that if we all just prayed for peace, it would get better. But we know from experience that all we can ask of God is to help us do what we can to prevent these things from happening. I wish I could tell you that there was a simple solution like banishing all assault weapons. To be sure, that would save lives. But that would not prevent 9/11, which involved airplanes, the Boston bombings, which utilized pressure cookers, or this Bastille Day massacre, the primary damage of which was done with a truck. I don't have a panacea that can make it all better. There simply isn't a silver bullet that can make it all go away. However, I can tell you this. The Jewish people have survived circumstances far worse than what we're seeing today. The Romans martyred rabbis in Jerusalem. We were driven out of our homeland, forced to live in exile for generations. The Crusades took the lives of thousands of innocent Jews. Pogroms ransacked our towns and pillaged our homes. The Holocaust took the lives of 6 million of our people. The modern state of Israel has been at war since its inception, and yet there is a Jewish expression that never fails to ring true: this too shall pass. Even in the heart of the most seemingly devastating of circumstances, the Jewish people have always been a people of hope. It is no accident that the national anthem in Israel is called Hatikva, the hope. Consider this quotation, not from Hatikva, but from somewhere else. It's a bit long, but it's worth reading. It goes as follows: "It's difficult in times like these. Ideals, dreams, and cherished hopes rise within us only to be crushed by grim reality. It's a wonder I haven't abandoned all my ideals. They seem so absurd and impractical. Yet I cling to them because I still believe, in spite of everything, that people are truly good at heart. It's utterly impossible for me to build my life on a foundation of chaos, suffering, and death. I see the world being slowly transformed into a wilderness. I hear the approaching thunder that one day will destroy us too. I feel the suffering of millions. And yet, when I look up at the sky, I somehow feel that everything will change for the better, that this cruelty too shall end, that peace and tranquility will return once more. In the meantime, I must hold on to my ideals. Perhaps the day will come when I'll be able to realize them." Does anyone know who said that? Anyone? It was Anne Frank, that's right. The Jewish people have emerged from crisis after crisis, not only with a sense of hope, but even with a sense of humor. Some would say that our sense of humor helped us get through the awful times. I served as a chaplain in an emergency room in a hospital one summer, and I can't tell you how much just a little humor brought a whole lot of healing in the midst of terrible ordeals. In difficult times, humor brought about healing through Yiddish theater, through the Marx Brothers, through Woody Allen. Ralph Waldo Emerson, not a Jew, described the successful life as follows. He said, "To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded." In addition to hope and humor, I believe part of what has helped the Jewish people endure tragedy is the value that we have in stepping up to actually do something to make a difference. Don't get me wrong, the Jewish people do our fair share of complaining, that's true. However, we are also known to assume responsibility. Jews have worked within the system to bring about justice as advocates, lobbyists, judges, and Supreme Court justices. We have served the police, the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, and the Marines. We have been teachers, social workers, therapists, psychiatrists. We have saved lives as paramedics, nurses, and doctors. We have been passionate advocates for the causes closest to our hearts, actively involved in every movement, from the American Revolution to the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement to the Peace Movement to every cause that you can find on the website of the Religious Action Center for the Reform Movement. No matter what we face it together, loving life, loving our families, loving our communities, loving our country, and loving our heritage. Love will help us face whatever comes our way. So every time we get hit with another one of these tragedies, we must draw love from our grief. Call your mother, call your sister, call your best friend, and show them your love. Give your children a warm hug and tell them how much you love them. Show kindness and compassion to everyone who crosses your path. Every time we hit a crossroads, there are, in fact, two paths to choose from. One is fear, and the other is love. Choose love. Shabbat Shalom.